Welcome to Prison Professors. Today, I'm really enthusiastic to introduce you to somebody that I'm speaking to on a Zoom call for the first time, but he is no stranger to the Prison Professors program. In fact, he reached out to me looking for an opportunity to work together, and I'm really enthusiastic about trying to figure out a way that we can do that. So this is Demetrius Huckabee. Demetrius, welcome to the Prison Professors program. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you and I connected?
Thank you, Mr. Michael Santos. It's a pleasure being here. My name is Demetrius Huckabee, and I'm from Mobile, Alabama. I did 20 years of prison. I just got out. And my whole time in prison, when I went in, it was just a refining moment for me. I knew I needed to have another route, or I was going to end up dead sooner or later. So when I went into prison, man, I went into I really got into a deep spirituality. I really got the deep spirituality, which most people do when they go to prison. They try to reach out to our higher source. So I reached out to God, and I stayed on that path, man. And as time went on and tried to change my ways, things started working for me in the better. And my mind started shifting to wanting to get away from the streets and want to do something productive and positive with my life.
So how old were you when you went to prison?
I was 21 when I went to prison. I just turned 21. I had just got married a month before that to my high school sweetheart. And things were going good for a minute, then it just turned sour because of my actions and my premeditated actions, so to speak. You know.
What was your adjustment like in prison? What kind of things did you do while you were there?
When I first went to prison, man, the first thing, like I said, I reached out for some older men that had wisdom, that had already been there. I knew in the county jail that once I got to prison, I had some time to do that. I wanted to get with some people that was older, that I already been there, that could show me the ropes and to lead me in the path of what I was trying to go. So what I did when I left the county jail and I went to the prison in Elmore, Alabama. It's called Elmore, Alabama, at a prison called Draper. I saw some older guys that was trying to do the right thing on the right path. So I got up under their wings, man, and they showed me the ropes on what to do if I wanted to get out of prison and not to get stuck in there.
And what year was it that you got out of prison that time?
The first time I got out of prison after doing 15 years was in 2017.
And tell me about, you and I didn't know each other. You didn't know about our work at that point. Is that right?
No, I did not.
So after 2017, you come back to society. Tell us a little bit about the adjustment and what it was like for you, because I'd like the audience to hear a little bit about your adjustment after serving 15 years in prison.
My adjustment after serving 15 years, in 2001, when I went to prison, it wasn't a lot of technology. It wasn't a lot with cell phones and internet and Facebook and, So after doing 15 years, when I get out, the biggest obstacle I had to deal with was learning how to work on computers and deal with technology. And with the prison in Alabama, what they was teaching was blue collar jobs, which is nothing wrong. They teach you how to do brick mason, cutting hair, plumbing, but they don't teach you nothing about technology or what you're gonna need when you get out, how to work on a computer, cell phones and things like that. They don't teach you that. So when I got out in 2017, I was kind of behind when I had to put in a job application. The first job I went to was Home Depot. And I was looking for a paper application like it was before I was incarcerated. But it had changed. So when I talked to the employer, he was like, well, we're looking for some help. Go and sign the application. I was like, okay, where's the application who I talked to? He said, no, over there on the computer. And when he told me that right there, I was lost. I was lost, right? A reality hit me. It was a defining moment that I had did some time. And even though I felt good and I was physically in shape, mentally, I was kind of behind. I was behind.
And I think that's the problem for a lot of people in prison, which is one of the reasons we place so much emphasis on the importance of developing strong communication skills, reading skills, writing skills, verbal communication skills, and really good critical thinking skills. It sounds like you had developed some of those critical thinking skills by avoiding some of the problems in prison and focusing on finding good mentors that could help you.
Yes, sir.
But what I know that at one point you became involved in media. How did that happen?
Okay, when I got out in 2017, I got a job grinding at a steel mill called Metal Plate down in Birmingham, Alabama. And after a while of working there, I knew that I wanted more out of life. I wanted more out of life because I was working 80 hours a day. 80 hours a week, excuse me. And my bills were still behind and I'm just getting out. So I knew right then and there, I was like, okay, I know how to write. This is a natural talent that I have. Keep in mind that when I got out of prison, I already had 2 books published. So that's what led me to media. I wrote 2 books while I was in prison. So when I got out, I went ahead and pursued that passion.
Help us understand that pathway. First of all, where did you learn how to write?
Okay, I've been writing my whole life. Growing up through school, I've always been a good writer. But when I went to prison, it gave me the time to be able to write and just to help me with that craft. It gave me the time to be able to do it.
Did you receive any formal training in writing, or did you just learn on your own?
I learned on my own. I went and got, the prison I was at, we had a library and they had a whole lot of author books. So when I went and got about at least 10 of those authors and looked at their format and see how they did and how they wrote their books. And I just imitated them. And
did you learn, what did you learn about the publishing business? You said that you published 2 books while you were in prison.
Yes, on Amazon.com. I learned on the publishing business, man. Once you write it, that's all it takes. It takes the time to write it. You're gonna have people that's gonna come and assist you. In prison, you have editors, you have different guys or marketers. I was in a state prison, I wasn't in Fed. And I had these different guys that understood the American English and about editing, and they helped me out. All they told me to do was just write it. And when I wrote it, they told me, okay, we'll edit it for you and let you know, and then you make the corrections, and then you can send it in. So I trusted those guys' skill, and it worked out for the best. It worked out for the best. So my time in prison, my last 5 years in prison, I ended up publishing 2 books. And with those 2 books, I knew one day that I wanted to make a future out of being an author, but I didn't know how quick or how soon it was going to come together for me, if it would ever come together at all. So once I did get out, that's how I ended up getting into media. After my bills started getting behind on my job, then I need another direction. So I tapped into my spirituality. Like I said, I tapped into my spirituality, and I was led to go to college. So I ended up registering for a school called Miles College, and I stayed in took up communications, and I stayed in Miles College for 4 months before an opportunity opened up at a radio station for me to come and help them out. Now, the reason that I didn't get a chance to finish college or either go past 4 months, keep in mind, when I get out of prison, I'm 37 years old. So a lot of the professors that's coming into the classroom, they're 2 or 3 years younger than me. So what they did, they just helped me through the process and give me the information that I needed in order to achieve what I was trying to do in media. Because I'm in the classroom around kids that's 19, 18 years old. I'm in the classroom around them.
You said that you published the books while you were in prison. Could you tell us the process, how you did that?
Okay. What so happened, my cousin, she's a publisher out of Texas, and she went to school for publishing. So when I wrote the book, I ended up talking to different guys around me that edited. And once they edited the book, I got in contact with my cousin and I asked her, could she put it on Amazon for me? And she said she knew the procedures and process. And she told me everything I needed to do. So if you want to write a book, for the ones that do, you write the book, you get it edited, and just really trying to find someone that's knowledgeable about getting it uploaded on Amazon for you, and then go from there.
What are the names of your books?
My name of my book, the first one was Political and Psychological Warfare, and the second one was World War I. The third one is Street Prophecies 1, and the fourth one is Street Prophecies 2.
So you wrote the first 2 while you were in prison, and the second 2 when you came home?
When I got out of prison, yes, sir.
You said that you got a job, an opportunity open for you with the media company. Walk us through what that opportunity looked like.
Okay, when the opportunity was presented to me, The opportunity was to work at a radio station, the intern at a radio station. And I told them that I would. So I went to the radio station. I went to the interview. They liked me, liked my presence. So they said, okay, what we need you just to go around with the street team and to go around and, and interview different people on broadcast about different subjects. So I did it. It was scary at first because it was new. I was new to it, And as I began to do it, it started getting easier and easier, man. And I started getting more confidence in it. But the opportunity that came to me, not only for the radio show, when I was working the radio station, also came for me to have my own TV show. So while I'm working at the radio station around different people that's in communications dealing with radio and TV, another guy come to me, asked me would I like a TV show or have I ever thought about getting into TV? I told him no, but I was interested. And he told me, okay. And he introduced me to the guy that was over the TV network, Mr. Dunn on ACN, Alabama Cable Network. And the rest of the history, man, that's like, I have me a radio show that I'm engineering for, or the Chris Danielson Show. I'm the producer for the Chris Danielson Show on radio.
What year was that?
This 2018.
So in 2018, you were a producer for a radio show, but in addition to being a producer for a radio show, you were also an interviewer interviewing people that would appear on the radio show. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
What kind of equipment did you use to go interview people?
I just had a camera and I had me a mic. I ordered a camera and a mic from Amazon, something that was affordable, but still had good quality. And I went with that. I went freelancing, so to speak.
So how was the compensation tied for you to do those interviews?
It was good. It was good. Sometimes I did them for free, and sometimes, I got compensated for it. But I was invited to different places. A lot of things that come through money though. Sometimes it came through connections, because some of the people that they had me around would help open the doors for other things that I wanted to do. So it was better than money in a lot of areas. The connection.
Were you able to earn a living in that role?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. When you're dealing with TV and radio, you make your money off the advertisements. And just like anything else, a lot of people think that when you get into TV and radio or writing a book, that you automatically gonna make it rich. That's false. That's false. It's just like anything else. Riches can come behind it, and a good life can come behind it, notoriety, all that. But it's just like anything else. When you first started off, it's gonna be in seed form, and you gotta nurture your seed. You gotta water your seed. And that's what I was doing. I was trying to get my name out there. So I was nurturing my seed. A lot of things I did for free for people to help them out in media. But as time went on, my name started to grow and my show started to grow.
So something happened that brought you back into the criminal justice system after you were released in 2017. Could you help us understand the complication?
Yes, sir. For the people that don't know or that have never been out for the first time, if you get out of prison, state prison or federal prison, if they have you on parole or any type of probation, make sure you follow through on your obligation. Because neither though on one side, my TV show, my radio show, I'm doing good, but on the other side, I've neglected the fact that I'm on parole. And by me being on parole, when they violated my parole, they snatched the rug from under me. And when they did that, the TV and the radio show failed because I was on papers.
When you said they violated your parole, what was the accusation against you?
For not reporting. What had started happening was my career had started taking off, and it caused me to have to travel and be different places versus me having to report to my parole officer. And it was a catch-22 because I have to travel and I have to, this is my job now. The media is my job. So I have to travel to try to make a living. But at the same time, if I don't travel and make a living, my career gone, but I'm going to be stuck in Alabama on parole. So by me being in Alabama, but if I report to my parole officer, that means I'm going to lose my job because I have to, both on one complement each other. And I had to look at the parole issue as being first priority, but I put it as being second priority.
So that's a real complication that people in jail and prison need to understand, that going back to jail or going back to prison doesn't necessarily require somebody to commit a crime. Somebody can be working a job, which is difficult to get for formerly incarcerated people, but because of the complications of requirements for parole and probation, you could still go back to prison. How long did they put you back in prison for not complying with those conditions of release?
21 months. They made me kill the rest of my 20-year sentence. So, I went in initially, supposed to be in a 45-day dunk. In Alabama, on the parole system, they have what you call dunk on a technical violation. And what a dunk is, that if you have a technical violation, instead of them sending you back to prison, the state sending you back to prison, they let you do 45 days in the county jail. But it so happened when I went back, the coronavirus had took place. So that caused everything to be shut down. All the courts, the courthouses, everything was shut down. So after they shut everything down, I'm stuck inside the county jail waiting on everything to open back up again, which ended up being a year and a half later. And I'm still in the county jail.
And how was it that you and I got into communication?
While I was in the county jail, we had some tablets, some Iboto tablets. And one day I was on the Iboto tablets. I ran into your prison professors. I was on the Iboto tablet and your name had popped up and it had prison professors. So I said, prison professor? I said, that's an interesting name. Let's see what this guy talking about. And so when I pulled you up, man, I saw you interviewing different people about that did time. Different people that made it out, be successful after doing time. Not only them, yourself. I listened to your testimony over and over and over again. I listened to your testimony at least 40 times, literally, at least 40 times. I'm like, man, this guy, he made it. This Michael Santos guy, it's something to him. So I started seeing more and more videos. And I started seeing videos, you interviewing different people that had got out to be successful, or they was just getting on their feet. And that was the path. I was like, okay, that's what I want to do. I said, okay, I'm 10 toes down when I get out this time. I said, ain't no looking back. I said, what I'm going to do first is get in contact with Mr. Michael Santos. And I said, we're going to see where it go from there. And here I am today.
So Demetrius, did you have an opportunity to look at the courses that we offer on those programs, like the Straight A Guide? Did you ever see that course?
Yes, sir. I saw the Straight A on an Iboto tablet in Alabama prison system. And the county jail system, you have the Straight A Guide and you have Masterminds. And you have anyone that wants to, they had an opportunity to actually complete each one of those courses.
How was the receptivity of people in jail and prison to wanting to go through that? Did you hear about it from other people that were there? That did they value?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You got a few guys that really want genuine change. And for the ones that really do want genuine change, they accepted it. For the ones that really was in the middle, in the gray, or some of the ones that didn't want to change, they turned a deaf ear to it, and you're gonna have that. And that's with anything. That's with anything in jail, any course, any program. You're gonna have some that gravitate to it. You're gonna have some that's not gonna like it too much.
And so that's, I think, the real importance of having your voice going into jails and prisons, because people get to hear about what you experienced. You went to prison as a young man, from what I've just learned from you today. You served 15 years in prison. You got out, faced some challenges, not from committing a crime. It sounds like you'd already, transitioned your mindset to living as a law-abiding citizen, but because of the complications of parole, they violate you and put you back in prison, which is really a travesty of justice, because here you are trying to work and trying to be a tax-paying citizen and living well, producing for a media company, but instead of rewarding you or complimenting you or encouraging you, they violate the conditions of your supervised release and send you back to custody. Now, that's something that I strive to change in a different way, just by bringing awareness to it, but also by helping people inside understand, hey, this is not a joke. Once you get into this system, it's very difficult for people to get out. And that's why I feel so passionately about trying to spread this message to people to the best of my ability. And I'm just one guy that did 26 years in prison, but I know that it hurts me when I hear stories like yours of guys that went back in. And I hope that people will pay attention to the principles I learned from leaders and that helped me emerge successfully. Would it be okay if I kind of questioned you on the straight A guide and we could kind of go through it together?
Yes, sir.
So the first challenge in the whole course is for an individual to define success and say, what's the best possible outcome? That's the prerequisite to the straight A guide, is you've got to define success. What does success look like for you right now?
Success looking for me right now, I'm getting a chance to do what I want to do. I'm free and I'm building. And that's success to me. As long as I'm headed towards the goal or what I'm trying to achieve and not backtracking, whether it's an inch or a mile, I define that as success. Progression. That's success.
So Demetrius, I'm gonna push you a little bit. Is that okay?
That's cool.
Okay. So in the straight A guide, when we talk about defining success, did you get an opportunity to read Earning Freedom, by the way?
No, sir. We couldn't have no books in accounting.
And you didn't have it available on the Adovo tablet?
They didn't have that available either.
Okay. So in that book, Earning Freedom, I really share the story that worked for me when I was going through at the start of my prison term. And it started by saying, what's the best possible outcome for me? And I knew I had to do 26 years in prison, but the best possible outcome I saw for me was to be able to come back to society and live as a law-abiding citizen. And that meant I had to stop thinking about my own challenges and start thinking about the people I would meet in the future. I wanted to think about, the people that would give me a job or the people that would open income opportunities for me. And I started thinking about, well, what could I do while I'm in here to advance that possibility? And there were these three principles. One of them was I would have to focus on educating myself. That was one thing that I thought people would want me to do to earn academic credentials or skills. The second was to contribute to society in some kind of meaningful way. And the third was to try and build a stronger support network. So I said, if I can do those kinds of things while I'm in prison, I believe that opportunities would open for me. What I would like you to do, Demetrius, is be thinking a little bit about not just not going backward, but really what's the best outcome for you, say, in 5 years? What do you think?
The best outcome for me in 5 years is I'd be highly successful.
And what does highly successful mean? Because it means one thing for one person, another thing for another. For one person, highly successful might be, I want to be a good husband. I want to be a good father. For another person, it might be, I want to make a certain amount of money. For another, it might be, I want to lose weight. What does highly successful mean to you?
I'm striving to be a best-selling author for one of my books.
A best-selling author. What does that mean? Does that have a certain number of books?
Yeah, I want to get my message out. So to reach over 1 million people with my books,
that's very specific. That's exactly what I was looking for.
Exactly. Reach over 1 million people. You
want to reach 1 million people and get your message out. And what is your message, Demetrius?
My message is being able to, man, just to stay rooted and grounded. And when challenges come your way, that you can always overcome. As long as that you have your health and strength and you stay connected to your higher power, whatever power that may be, and just wake up every day and just strive. Just strive. That's my message.
So that's a great message for people in jail and prison. He wants to reach, he's got very specific, I want to reach 1 million people. So if we're going to put that in the context of the course, we would say that's how he is defining success. And then you would go to the second module in the course, and that is the very specific goals that a person should achieve. What specific goals would you have to put in place that will advance the possibility of you broadening your message to reach 1 million people?
Well, the first goal was me getting off papers, being a free man. That for me personally.
But wait a minute, you didn't have anything. All that had to happen for that to take place was for enough calendar pages to turn. You didn't have to do anything to do that. You just had to go to jail and satisfy the time, right?
That's it. That's it. And get out and try it again, man. And pray that you make it out, and you make it out, you try it again.
And so you're out right now. What
Yes,
specific goals that you control can you take that you think might accelerate possibilities of you selling 1 million books?
Yes, sir. Coming up, like you said, coming up with some avatars. You talked about avatars. Getting around people that have a like-minded vision. This is for me. Marketing and advertisement. I'm back into advertisement. I have a national TV show that I had just been rewarded, and just putting all my eggs together, man. Dealing with books, dealing with marketing, dealing with my avatars, and dealing with the media. It can help me get to where I'm trying to get.
So Demetrius, I really want to encourage you to continue doing that, but for the purposes of teaching people in prison, which is what we're doing right now. We're trying to reach people that are in prison. And I want those people to understand you're a hero. You're somebody who's home and you're making a commitment to become successful. You educated yourself in prison, and now you're trying to create your own living. But I want to give you some ideas to consider when you're moving forward. When you're setting these goals, have you heard the term SMART goal?
Yeah, I heard it. Sir.
Do you remember what that means?
No, sir. I remember the term SMART goal. I mean, literal to me is literal. Setting SMART goals.
It's really specific, right? A SMART goal is an acronym, meaning every letter in SMART means something. So the goal has to be specific. Like you were very specific about saying, I want to sell 1 million books, but nobody just sells 1 million books. They got to do a number of things to get there. And those little incremental steps have to be really specific. 2, so that's the S in SMART. 2 is measurable, meaning you have to be able to measure it. It's got to be something that's really clear, right? Like you hear people losing weight. They might say, I'm going to run 10 miles a day, or I'm going to eat 1,200 calories a day. It's measurable. It's something that you can measure. The A in SMART is it has to be action-oriented. It's something that you do. It's not something that just happens like I get off paper, because that just happens by doing enough time. You know, it's got to be something that's action-oriented. And we're going to talk about that after I finish the description. 4th is it has to be realistic. And the 5th is it's got to be time-bound. So you got to do these things within a specific time. So I told you when I was in prison, I wanted to become educated, I wanted to contribute, and I wanted to build a support network. So to convert that into a SMART goal, I defined education by getting a university degree within 10 years. It was specific, it was measurable, it required action, it was realistic, and it was time-bound. To say I wanted to contribute to society meant I was going to write books, okay? Either within 10 years, I was going to become a published author. Either I did it or I didn't. To become, the third was to build a strong support network, was I wanted to find 10 people to believe in me within 10 years. And so that was specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and time-bound. When you say you want to sell 1 million books, I'm going to task you with trying to come up with some really specific goals. Now, you just said it, but people in prison might not know it so easily. What I heard Demetrius say is he's going to start his own national television show. He said that he is also going to get into advertising and marketing. Well, those are goals, but he can even make them more specific by saying, I'm going to devote 10 hours a day or 8 hours a day to writing a show, producing a show, meeting with talent, and structuring the transaction so that I can get on the air. And then I'm going to market the show to reach 100,000 people. And then I'm going to, it's specific. So if he does those kinds of things, he accelerates the possibility of reaching his goal of selling 1 million books. Okay. And Demetrius, as somebody who's been out of prison now for about 9 years, I can say it's really hard. I know how hard it is. And I want to encourage you along the way, but I would really also be suggesting you set these clear goals so that you know exactly what you have to do in the next week, in the next month, in the next year, so that you can bring more value to your audience, but also persuade more people to help you. And I'm happy to share with you what worked for me. And I hope that that same strategy will work for you.
Yes, sir.
So the next part, once you've defined success and you set those clear goals, then you go on that straight A guide. And that the first A is all about attitude, right? You got to have the right attitude.
Definitely got to have the right attitude. Yes, sir.
And you've got the right attitude when you say you're going to make 100% commitment to getting this project off the ground. And that's what we would encourage people in prison to do. Have the right attitude and don't just talk about being successful. Sow the seeds today so that you can get there, as Demetrius said earlier.
Yes, sir.
The second is that you got to aspire. Demetrius now aspires to put 1 million books in the hands of other people. And that's would make it clear that he wants to have a bigger impact and to reach in getting his message out. You got to be thinking, if you're in jail or prison, what do you want to do? And the next A is you got to take action. Well, Demetrius said that as soon as he got out, he was going to reach out to me, and he did. And I'm really glad that he did, because he can help me do something that I'm passionate about doing. And that's teaching and inspiring people in jail and prison to prepare for a better life. So I'm grateful to you for taking that action step. And then the next A, Demetrius, if you don't remember, is accountability. You got to hold yourself accountable. People in prison, a lot of times they'll make, excuses and say, oh, there's no rehabilitation programs. There's nothing to do in here. But you found your own way to learn how to write books, to learn how to master English, to learn how to get your cousin to help you publish a book. All of that requires, persistence. And that's the next A, about awareness. You got to keep your head in the game. The prison system doesn't always exist to help people prepare for success. You got to be like Demetrius and figure out a way to do it on your own. And you got to be authentic. That's the next A in the program. You can see he's for real. He's not just talking about it. He's working every day. And then you've got to celebrate those little achievements. And we're going to talk about his little achievements here, about what he's doing to get this show off the ground and how hard he's working to make things happen. And then finally, you've got to express your gratitude for the blessings that come your way. That's the last module in the course, appreciation. And that's just, trying to give back to society. And I know that that's something that means a lot to him, because he's spoken about his faith. So does that ring a bell, those different A's in the course, now that you're home and remembering what I tried to speak about in the lesson?
Absolutely. And every last one of them have to be worked out to the best of the ability for anyone to become successful in their craft. It's a delusion for a lot of guys that's doing time, men and women, that they'll lay on their bunk and they'll think about when they come home or what they want to do. And in their mind, in their imagination, they can see themselves doing it. But the reality is that once they actually get out and start the process of it, the things that they never calculated while they was on their bunk, the different setbacks and delays, it is real. It's real when you get out here to society versus, like you just said, talking about it or dreaming about it or wanting to do it or having a desire. And you really got to be self-motivated. People will walk with you so far, and people can motivate you so long. But after a while, it's going to have to be something that you really want. And if you don't really want it, it's going to show over time. So,
could you tell us about the television show that you've put together and what you expect to do with that show?
Yes, sir. The TV show that I put together this time is called Reinvented. And what Reinvented means, it stands for, I'm interviewing different men and women that have been to prison, that have gotten out of prison and become successful on the same line of what you're doing now. I have a same passion. And that's what it's going to be about. It's going to be on DirecTV, starting April the 21st at 12 o'clock midnight. And that'll be my first airing. And I've been working hard on it. I'm able to travel. I moved from Alabama to Atlanta 2 weeks ago. Sometime I understand it ain't the work that you're doing is your environment. You got to put yourself in the right environment to give yourself a chance to win. So I took a chance of moving from Alabama to Atlanta. Well, a lot of marketing and production and promotions is going on and I'm gonna go from there with it.
You said that you would get compensated through advertising. Does that mean you are responsible for getting sponsors for your own show, or what is how do the economics works of running a television show for you?
Yes, sir. Dealing with a national and local television show, you're responsible for your own advertisement. Now, if you're dealing with for your show, if you're dealing with the network get their own advertisement, and you just put your show on their network. But with me, I'm a freelancer. So I'm responsible for everything. I'm independent, so I'm responsible for everything that go on in the midst of my show. So, and I like it better that way because it's up to me if I'm gonna be successful or not. It's up to me. It's not in nobody else's hands. So in order for me to get my money, be compensated for it, I do my own advertising.
So you're a real entrepreneur. You're going to sink or swim based on your own prospects for success.
Yes, sir.
And your own commitment. Could you tell us a little bit about the show? Like you said, you've got a show scheduled that's going to start on April 21st. Is that right?
May 21st.
May 21st, and it's called Reinvented. What does the show look like? What are you going to do on the show?
The show I'm really doing it's going to be a lot of Zoom interviews for different people that are out of town. I have a few in-person interviews, but like I said, it's going to be men and women that have been incarcerated, that they got out, and they're killing it. They're killing it. And I'm talking about they winning. They're winning all the way around. Everything their hands touch turn to gold. And the reason that I'm interviewing men and women that have been incarcerated, because I want to show people, I want to show the world that you can go through the hardest, especially being incarcerated, going through the hardest trials of life, get out and still win if you stay focused and stay on the right path, just like the straight A guide and masterminds talk about.
Uh-huh. So are you going to be the host of the show or just the producer of the show?
I'm the producer and I'm the host of the show.
So have you scripted out your first episodes?
Yes, sir. I scripted out the first episode. I booked the interview with the guy last week. So I scripted out the first episode and the questions or what I'm going to ask and the angles. And the angles are how the questions going to come, because I want my audience to have a full understanding, like you're doing with me right now. I want my audience to have a full understanding of someone that has fallen, the process of them getting back up, and the process of them standing on their own after they get up.
I'm sure a lot of people in jail and prison would like to follow in your footsteps and do the same thing. How did you go about getting a show on DirecTV? What was your process?
A whole lot of no's, reaching out and hitting a whole lot of no's. Staying motivated and constantly believing in yourself. Whatever it is that you want.
Give us the specifics. What did you do? Did you write letters? Did you go show up at a movie studio? What did you do?
I did my research on Google. I went to Google and did my research.
What did you research on Google?
I just Googled what did it take to have your own TV show.
Okay. And
Google gave me the information of what it took, which meaning that you needed to have a team around, you need to have production, it just give you the basics of starting your own TV show. But the main thing that it let me know that I saw was that I needed to have a team around me that had the same like mind, that had the same vision.
So who's on your team?
Sir?
Who's on your team?
I have different people. I have a guy that I was once incarcerated with. He did 20 years. He got out. He's in Atlanta. He's winning. His name is Jonathan Moore. He's on my team.
What does Jonathan Moore do for the team?
Jonathan Moore, he's going to be a speaker and he's going to be the cameraman. He's going to speak sometime behind the scenes, and he's going to be the cameraman. He's going to be writing a lot of the questions out, coming from different people from different angles, because he's from New York. So he's going to bring a New York style to the show. Okay. And how will people find the show? So it's one thing to produce the show and then put it on. How did you strike a deal with DirecTV? Like I said, I Googled and I talked to different people When you trying to get your TV show off the ground, you're gonna go through a lot of gatekeepers, and you're gonna have to call different networks. And if they like your content, they're gonna get back to you and tell you that they like it, and they want to give you a chance. You got to film a show. You're gonna have to film your first show, your pilot. They call it the pilot show. You got to film the first pilot show, and you got to send it in. And if they approve it, rest of it is history.
So the pilot show that you created, is it something like we're doing right now? I mean, the programs that we create are only to go into jails and prisons and help people understand, hey, if you follow along the footsteps of Demetrius, you might become more successful. What does your pilot look like?
My pilot is dealing with basically the same thing, the same interview we're having now, but not only dealing with the men and women that's in prison as well as the ones that's out. And giving an understanding to the ones that have never been to prison before. You have a lot of people that's interested, and prison intrigue a lot of people, so.
Of course it does. Do you have to pay the network to put your show on television, or are they paying you?
I have to pay the network.
Earlier you'd said that a lot of people have this vision that the more just by being in the media, they are automatically going to become financially successful. Your experience is a little bit different. It's not so easy. Walk us through what those economics look like in getting a show, first of all, producing a show and putting it on the air.
First of all, you need to have some type of family or friends that's willing to uphold you financially until you get it going. Because you're going to have to throw all you have into it. You can't, this is nothing part-time if you're trying to get into media. You got to put all you have into it. So once you get that first stage, you're getting people that believe in your vision and can see what you see and willing to walk with you for a certain amount of time. Then you go look for your production team, different people that know how to run cameras, that know a little bit about advertisement, that know about what you're doing. After you find your production team, the people that's gonna do the cameras for you, be your camera guy and your audio check man. Then you get your show, you sketch your show out. Once you sketch your show out and you set a date with the people that you're gonna be interviewing or how you want your show set up, y'all make sure y'all keep that date and y'all keep that time. You record it, and after you record it, you get it edited professionally. After you get it edited professionally, then you send it in. When you call a network, you ask a network, do they have a spot available for the type of content that you're trying to put out? And they have a spot available for the type of content, a paid programming spot. That's why it's called paid programming, because you're paying for that spot. You see?
How much does it cost to pay for that spot?
Different people, different things. It might go from $500 to $5,000 to $50,000. It depends on what network you own and what station you own and your audience.
And then how do you get that money back?
You get that money back through advertisement. Once you send the network your money for your paid programming and send them your content, your job is over with. They're gonna put it on the air. But in the meanwhile, you need to be if you're trying to get into this field, you need to be trying to find people that's willing to advertise with you, build some partnerships with different companies or different businesses that can advertise with you to help you keep your airtime going. Now, this is the thing. This is the benefit of it. All advertisement is tax deductible. So for businesses, if they like your content and they're willing to work with you, they're not going to lose anything. They're not going to lose anything. It's tax deductible.
So do you have an idea of how much it costs or could you give our audience an idea of how much it costs to produce a season of shows?
For me, my first season was like $12,000.
So $12,000 results in you having how many shows on the air?
12 shows on the air.
And how long is each show?
Each show was 28 minutes and 30 seconds, which was a 30-minute show.
And so does that mean you have 90 seconds of commercials to sell?
Sometimes depends on how you want your show. If you want to interview people for 3 minutes and then go to commercial, that could be one. Or if you want to do them 5 minutes and then go to commercial. So it's on you. It's on each person that's a producer that's over the show on how they gonna personally craft their show and get their advertisers in.
But you've got to get back. You've got to get back a certain amount of money for each show from advertising. How do you price that?
How I priced mine was through the millions of views. Like on the first show that I was on was a local show, ACN, Alabama Cable Network. I reached like 2 million people. And I came up with a price list for how much I was going to charge per 50,000 people. But now dealing with DirecTV, I have an audience of 20 million people. So an audience of 20 million people, I break down by the millions or how much I would charge by the demographic of the millions.
So if it costs $12,000 just to pay that, when you said $12,000, that's just to pay the network. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But in addition to that, don't you have a lot of other costs like buying the camera equipment, the audio equipment, and paying the entire team?
Yes, sir. You got to buy the camera, everything the cameraman need, unless you go find some freelance producers, because you can find some cameramen. But if you have your own equipment, it's cheaper because you just go get the person that do it and you got your own equipment. But if you go hire somebody to have their own equipment, it's going to be higher. You see? So
it's a pretty big investment to build a career in media, and there's really no guarantee of success. You got to work really hard. Yes,
sir. You're going to have to work really hard. If you look at a cable station or social media, you can see all the channels that's out there. You can see all the shows on all these channels that's out there. Some of these shows we have never heard of. Some of these shows are success.
So you mentioned that marketing and advertising. So advertising is what people will pay you to get onto your show, but you still have to make people find your show because like you just said, there's an ocean of content out there, and you're like one grain of salt in that ocean unless you can bring people in. Is there some tactics you are using to market your show and bring it to the attention of others?
Yes, sir. First of all, building friendships around with other people that do what I do, that's into media, and we scratch each other back. They will advertise my shows, or my show on their network, or on their podcast, and I do the same for them. You know.
Well, I'm going to be happy to put a link to your show along with this. But most of my audience is in prison, so they don't have access to it. But maybe their families will, and they could look at you as a role model of what somebody can become if they use their time in prison wisely. And that's what I always encourage people to do. Do you have any questions that I should have asked that I didn't ask, Demetrius, that you'd like to share with people?
Well, I just wanted to say, man, that all of it come with hard work and dedication. All of it come with hard work and dedication, and keeping your spirituality in check. Like I said, I'm not trying to be religious, but to keep your spirituality in check, believing in yourself, and just looking within. If you really want to change, whether it's being an entrepreneur, whether it's being a good husband, a good father, a good friend, or just being good to yourself. If you just really want to change, man, you're gonna have to. It's gonna have to be a daily commitment. It can't be something that you say one time and then that's it. It has to be a daily commitment. And once you commit to changing and making a daily commitment, then other people will see it and they'll come along and they'll want to help you change, especially some of the ones that knew where you had come from.
We've been listening and learning from Demetrius Huckabee. If people wanted to connect with you, Demetrius, how would they do so?
Oh, they can connect with me through my email, Demetrius Huckabee 741@gmail.com. My Facebook and my Instagram, I'm revising it now, but it will be ready by the time my show get ready to air. All my contact information. But if you want to contact me now, you can contact me through my email.
Demetrius and what is the name of your show one more time?
Reinvented.
And if somebody's watching this show and they want to be a participant on Reinvented, they got to do one thing. They got to come out of prison and be really successful, just like Demetrius Huckabee.
Exactly. That's all they have to do, man. And they can reach out to me and I'd be glad to interview them.
Well, we're so glad to have had the opportunity to share your inspiring story, and we'll be distributing it to people in jails and prisons across America with hopes that it helps those people understand the importance of educating themselves, developing strong communication skills, working to develop good critical thinking skills, and avoiding the types of decisions that bring so many people back to prison. Remember, you can go back to prison not only for committing another crime, but simply for violating the terms of release. In fact, isn't that fella from Georgia that's working with Jay-Z? He was a rapper, Meek Mill. Wasn't he from Georgia? Yeah. Mm-hmm. You ought to reach out to him and see if you can get him on your program. He's certainly been really successful, not only as an artist, but also as a person that is working to change the system for the better.
Yes, sir. I reached out to him last week, and I'm waiting for him to get back in contact with me now.
Well, I know that it's tough to get a hold of people. I'm really glad that you reached out to me, and I'm happy to have shared the little bit that I can with you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for being a part of the Prison Professors program.
Thank you, Mr. Michael Santos.